Larry Morgan, CW and CBS Sacramento, go.
Larry, I just want to say that unfortunately for you to follow the guy that was just in this room, it's all going to be downhill from here.
What did he do?
He just was a supernova of broadcast entertainment.
See, I can't be a supernova.
So let's you and I take a deep breath and just switch gears, because we just can never play in that key.
I don't even know how to begin now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now
you're behind the 8 ball.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to pump it up here.
Pump it up.
Are you becoming a better actor, or are you taking roles that are better showing the skills that you already had?
Good question.
Mr. Damon said this is going to be the one interview he enjoys today. I like that to be on camera. When you're crafting a horror film, how do you make it not just scary for the people that are going to see it opening weekend, but maybe for a kid that's going to discover it in 50 years?
Wow, Jake, you started out with a big question. You went big, guys.
Trying to. If someone were going to play you one day, what do you think is the hardest thing about yourself that they would have to try to nail down?
Oh, wow.
Does being an actor sort of keep you from having to grow up?
Oh.
If you could look back at all your favorite animated films and have voiced any other classic animated character, who would you have had the most fun with?
That is a really good question.
Wow, that's a good question.
Can you remember the last time that you weren't famous?
That's a really good question.
Given the wrap, I have so many more questions I could
Let's have one more question. Jake, I'm just so mesmerized by you.
Really? I can do one more?
Yeah,
I'm gonna get in trouble.
You're a force.
Okay.
You're quaking with excitement.
Would you like a fun question or the more serious question?
I want the question that is the Jake, give me the question that most tells me about you as a person, who you are as a person. Let's learn something about each other from this
Okay,
question. Ready?
excellent. In the movie, you use the metaphor of the Russian nesting doll, and the reason you have to be a guardian is you have something in your center.
Yes.
If you're going to be an actor, what do you need to have in your center? And more importantly, what does Alec Baldwin have in his center? Whenever you make a movie about wealth and about the haves and the have-nots, do you look at your own wealth differently?
That's a good question.
The fact that you and John are married in real life is not the most interesting thing about this movie.
I love you for saying it.
Okay,
and that's
fantastic.
all we
It took me
wanted.
forever. Thinking about all the amazing characters you've played, if you could see one character's father, maybe learn a little bit more about them and see where your character came from, who would you be most interested in seeing?
Gosh.
Man,
Trying to ask you things you haven't been asked.
this is deep acting class material.
One of the things I love about the title of the book and the movie, Me Before You, is this idea of the you, the fact that one person in your life can be that watershed moment where your life existed before and your life existed after. Who is the you in your life?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's like take your breath away hard.
Yeah.
If you could insert your characters, Claire and Owen, into the original movie, what's the scene you'd love to see how they handle it?
Oh, wow, good question.
And I was curious if that's true, to what degree is a movie affected by when you make it in your life? Had you actually made Labor Day then, would it be a different movie than the movie that you made now?
That's an excellent question.
Fair enough. I have 1,000 more questions, but I could talk to you all day. You're always so
I
kind
wish
to me,
you
man.
could talk to me all day.
I
rather
appreciate
than,
it, man.
You know,
I appreciate it. Of all the great characters you've played, who is the one you would least want to go on a cruise with?
Oh, wow.
Interesting. That's not a bad question.
Man, that's a good question.
What would you say pop culture gets wrong about dying?
Oh, that's a good question.
If he were to write a movie about you, what is the moment in your life that you think would make the best movie, and what do you think it would be called?
Oh, wow. Good question. So, Addie?
What's the weirdest, most unique thing you learned about each other?
Oh. Jake, good question. Thank you.
Thinking about all the films that you've been in that you didn't direct, if just hypothetically you could have tried out directing one of them, which one do you think would have been the most interesting to give your spin to?
Well, boy, that's a great question. Nobody has ever asked me that question. And you got me stumped.
Do you have do you have an ending in mind that you want to happen? Do you know what you want? Like, do you want your character to live? Do you want your character to die? Do you have a preference one way or the other?
That's a great question.
Wow.
What about you?
Wow. You're gonna make me answer that first?
So obviously you guys didn't have Freddie to sort of use as a source to ask questions, but imagine you could sit in a theater with him, next to him, watch Bohemian Rhapsody, and when it's over, lean over and go, what did you think of this part? What is the thing about the movie you'd want to ask him about?
Ooh.
In your career, being in this business, what is the most offensive, the worst, the most awful question a reporter has asked you?
It's a good question.
Thank you. What other mystery would you like to see maybe redone in this format?
That's a great one.
What point does evil become likable?
That's a great question.
If Roman J. Israel Esquire were representing Denzel Washington in court, what would be his opening statement? What would he say about you?
Your Honor, I don't know why he did it. But he's a good man. And, no, I don't know. That's a good question.
Try to ask questions you hadn't heard 10,000 times.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys. Congratulations on the film. If you could go back and look at one of your past films from the director's standpoint, from the director's point of view, which one would you be most interested in looking at again?
Oh man, that's really interesting. That's a good question.
Who is the character who you most knew coming in that's now the most different for you based off of what's happened on the show?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's really a good question.
That's a good question.
Of all the stories in your life, if you could hear a life story told from your children's perspective, which life story do you think would be most interesting to hear how they tell it?
God, that's a really big question.
As parents, what's the toughest lesson you've had to deliver to your kids?
Wow. That's interesting.
You could sit in a movie theater with any of the amazing real-life people involved with this story, and when the movie's over, lean over and ask, what did you think about this part? Who would you want to watch it with, and what would you want to ask about?
That's a great question.
Such a good question.
Good question.
As a kid, I always used to wonder, like, what is Dutch doing? Like, what happened to Schwarzenegger's character after the events of the first one? So I'm curious, during this one, where do you think he is?
We did not prepare for that. we weren't, as a cast member, sitting around with Shane going, no, where do you think
Dutch came from?
This is why I have this job, because these are the questions that keep me up at night, these nerdy questions. What's the most constructive criticism you've ever received in your career?
Man, that's a good question.
If someone were going to make a movie about your life, who would you want to be the narrator?
Wow. You take it.
Wow.
If you were going to enter into a relationship, what is the obstacle involved with yourself that the other person would have to get over?
Oy. I'm not.
Everyone is groaned at that question. Have you guys been asked that a lot?
Great question.
No.
You've played so many incredible characters in your career. Which one did you have the hardest time letting go of?
Wow. Huh.
What were the movies that defined your childhood?
Huh. Wow.
What in pop culture today do you think has the best chance of us being nostalgic for in 20 years sticking around?
That's a really hard question.
Thank you for putting up with my nerdy questions.
Thank you. No, those were great. No, those were actually thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. If you were to drop these guys in another cinematic classic to sort of see how they would handle another cinematic problem, what movie would you like to drop them in?
Ooh.
Oh, wow, that's a good question.
That's a good one.
In the production of this movie, did director John learn anything from actress Emily Blunt that husband John could use with wife Emily Blunt?
It's a very good question.
Thinking about your own lives, if there could be a moment in your life that someone else narrates, what is the moment that you'd like to hear the narration, and who would you like to hear narrated?
Ooh, strong question.
Wow.
If you were to write a crush letter to one Netflix character, who would it be?
Oh my God, what a question.
So what is that film that you've done that you're most proud for them to maybe one day show the future kids? And what is the movie that maybe you'll be a little bit hesitant to be like, well, maybe you're not going to watch that one?
Coming out deep out the gate. Coming deep out the gate.
What is the worst side effect of being an actor?
Good question.
If something happened with this business and Hollywood didn't work out for you, what do you know well enough that could be your fallback job?
Oh, that's a good question.
Gentlemen, it's been one of the greatest honors of my life. I've tried to ask questions hopefully you hadn't heard 10,000 times.
that
Is there a
was
way you
great.
can grab a quick question? Thinking about right now what you want most in this world, what is it and what does that say about you?
Shit.
If someone were going to make a movie about your life, what is a cut or what is a change that you would want them to make to maybe spice it up?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Thank you. Who is the person that you would least want to go on a road trip with?
Oh.
I'm trying to ask you something you haven't been asked today.
I appreciate the effort.
When you guys got into this business, what was something that you knew about Hollywood and then you started working here and you thought, yeah, that's not true?
If you could play any villain, who would you want to play?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm being interviewed by Ryan Gosling. Yes. I like what's happening. As long as this is the first time you guys have been asked this, I'm feeling good.
It is.
Great question.
I appreciate it.
Kid. You're going places,
Excellent.
kid.
Excellent. Mr. Whitaker, an honor to sit across from you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Good to see you. Hopefully the questions weren't too weird. Just trying to ask you something I haven't been asked.
Those are good. It was hard.
I appreciate it. And I was wondering, if I were to hand you a list of all of your past characters, who would be the easiest for you to slip back into to kind of maybe give me the voice or like the character tics, and who would be the hardest for you to kind of have to wrap your brain around again?
Wow, that's a good question.
You are perfect for this part. What does that say about you that you are perfect for this part?
I know. That's a great question to start with. Let's just completely make the correlation that I am the character.
Are you? How great it must be to put the mask on. But I was wondering for you, you know, thinking about kind of that narcotic quality it has, what's the hardest part about taking it off?
Oh, interesting.
Did you look at movies that worked and thought about what made them work, or more importantly, did you look at movies that maybe didn't work and try to see what didn't work with other superhero movies?
It's an interesting question, you know.
To what degree are we seeing a performance, and to what degree are we seeing the camera just capture your instinctive reactions to things?
It's a good question.
If you're gonna fight someone, and you're walking out and they're gonna play a song,
That's such a good
what is your
question.
song? What's the worst thing you had to do to get a part or to get a movie? What is your bad thing for a good reason?
Oh my gosh, what a good question.
What is an on-screen couple that you've been a part of that you would like to see where they were 10, 15, 20 years down the line?
Oh, that's a great question.
What would you say is his biggest advantage by not having to show that many emotions, and what's her biggest advantage by getting to show more emotions?
Wow.
Trying to ask something you guys haven't been asked.
Yeah, that was really a good one.
Sorry, try to ask questions you hadn't heard.
You know what? You're so funny.
Thank you very much. Give me the rap really quick. Do you like Titanic?
I love Titanic. Thank you for asking
You're
that.
very welcome.
That's a great junket question.
I think so too. Because
Yeah.
if anything's more relevant than a movie set in 1949, it's a
Right?
movie.
Titanic.
If you're an actor and you're cast as a basketball player, you kind of need to be able to play basketball.
You
If you're-
sure
if you're-
do.
If you're cast as a pilot, you don't need to be able to fly a plane. How, as an actor,
It
do
helps.
you decide? And hey, it would help. How do you decide whether or not you really need to be able to do the things your character can do?
I think it always helps. That's a good question.
Which co-star would you most like to spend your final days with, and which one would you least like to spend it with?
Wow, that's a really interesting question.
So let's say that you kept the same rhythm, and every 10 years you made a new movie that was a snapshot of you at that time. What is the decade that you'd be most interested in seeing the movie of?
That's a good question.
What famous sidekick would you like to see a famous story told? You know what? You step up, and I want to hear the story from your perspective.
Oh, that's interesting.
I have to ask, aside from the character that you play, if you could sit next to one person involved in this operation in the theater, and then when the movie's over, when it cuts to black, look over and say, so, what'd you think? Who is the person you'd like to sit next to?
That's an interesting question, man.
For you as an actor, since you started as an actor, what's been the hardest change in this business that you've had to deal with?
Oh, that's a really good question.
What is a character that you've done in the past that you would like to kind of go back and play that character over a span of 20 years to kind of see where that character would be?
Oh, wow. That's my first question of the day, and that's a genuinely fantastic question.
Thank you very much. If you guys were going to have a hotel and have some of the past characters you guys have played kind of thrown in one place to see them interact together and kind of see, you know, which ones would you like to see and what interaction do you think would be the coolest?
That's
Just
a hard
trying to
one.
ask you something you haven't been asked all day, every day.
That's good.
Dude.
Got your notes?
I do. Oh, dude.
You
Don't look. You're
Come on,
spoiling
it's
for
all
yourself.
good. I'm not gonna
Dude, I gotta make sure I'm trying to ask
Did
questions.
you write these last night or outside?
Last night.
Dude, can I have these afterwards?
Yeah. You want
Cool.
them? Seriously, you want them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Frame it.
Okay. For you, in 20 or 30 years, if someone were going to remake one of your movies, which one would you like to see redone in 20 or 30 years?
That's a good question.
30 years down the road, if you were going to have Bruce's part, and there was going to be a young actor who had to have, you know, the makeup to look like you, what are the aspects about yourself that you think that younger actor would have a hard time mastering? Either the physical aspects or the behavioral tics or anything like that?
That's a funny question.
Who is that co-star you've worked with that deep down you secretly hate?
I hate you.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we've done several interviews together.
Right.
And I think we know each other well enough for me to admit that I hate you.
Any particular reason why?
I don't know. It's you're a good-looking guy. You're good at what you do. You seem to be on top of the world, and it just is annoying.
Fair enough. I'll take that. Which movies did you guys see growing up that kind of defined what you thought love was?
That's
a great question.
That is a really good question.
First question of the day.
That's a thinker.
So I was wondering, what is a movie that you guys have done that you would like to see told from a different perspective, and which character would you like to see it told from?
Wow, we are not as smart as you think we are.
When you were studying him, when you were looking at him, when you were watching him, what was that one thing that you noticed that changed your idea of like, wow, I thought I knew this guy, and now I've watched him enough so that I know this is the case now?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, hopefully the questions weren't too
No, it's good.
crazy, man. I appreciate it.
It's better than how was it to work with Johnny?
Thanks for answering my weird questions. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having questions.
Thank you, seriously.
Did you ask any of those questions?
I did.
Really?
I didn't get to ask all of them.
Can I have?
Please.
Do you mind?
Please.
What if you meet me again? What if you need them again?
I'll see you in October, man.
Okay,
Hopefully,
good.
knock on wood. If you ever come to Houston, I'm very comfortable full that
All right.
couch.
I think I'm going to go to Dallas, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We'll hang out.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
We'll hang out. And then you left.
I hope to be doing junkets with you for a long time.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
You know I love talking to you. It's always such a pleasure.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Have a good day. You were fantastic in the movie, by the way. I hope to see you again soon.
Oh, thanks, Jay.